Hi, I'm Marianne Clyde, and welcome to the Power of Decision. Today, I'm really excited about my guest. Vanessa Short is a financial advisor with Thrivent. She's been in this position for the last 2 years. And welcome, Vanessa. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. It really is such a pleasure. It was such a delight when we had coffee recently and we immediately connected. And so I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I'm excited because you've got a big vision. You've got a vision for the world. You've got a vision for women. And I want to hear, and I want the audience to hear what makes you tick. So why don't you start out with
Um,
your world vision and what you want to impact in this world?
and really, when you hone in on your vision and you begin to talk about it, it is so exciting. I almost feel goosebumps just talking about it. So, my vision for the world as a financial advisor with Thrivent is to that every individual deserves a financial advisor, regardless of how much money you make, regardless of what you know about finances. Everybody deserves an opportunity to work with an expert and be educated on this is what it's all about to be on a financial journey.
Mhm.
Because in the end, you want to make your own decisions. You want to be in control of your finances. You don't want someone to just say, okay, here's your plan and this is what we're doing. Um, it's better if you understand so that you can work towards your goals and your dreams. And so that's my vision for the world. And so I work with young people. In fact, I have an appointment next week at a restaurant that has young servers, and
Ah,
I'm going to come in and I'm going to do a presentation on setting up your very first Roth account.
to the whole
Ooh,
staff.
yes, to the whole staff.
Oh, cool.
Um, and then some other things. I have to be careful because of compliance. I can't say very much about actual products, but yeah, so I am just so excited to help young people get started.
Mhm.
And then other people who just feel like I don't make enough money or, I don't know anything about this. And of course, some people are very skeptical. And so building that relationship first so that there's trust between both of us and then helping them on their journey. That's my vision, that everyone has a financial advisor.
Well, then you got a lot of work to do. There's
I do. I do.
So, but you also told me that you have a vision specifically for women. What does that look like?
I do. And that is very personal. That vision is very, very personal. I have a background that's a little difficult. I have, as a child, I have a lot of things that happened. And one of the things that happened as a result of that is that I had trouble connecting with other women.
Mhm.
I've always felt a little awkward, not good enough, lack of self-esteem, things like that. And it really affects your everyday life. And I was very blessed a few years ago to start on a path working with women, not like I was the leader, but I was involved with a group of women.
Mhm.
And it actually went through several stages that I started out and I began to get more comfortable, not think that like I'm the odd man out.
Mhm.
And then I went through something called Clifton Strengths, where I discovered who I am and where my strengths lie. And suddenly it was like I felt very authentic, which was really important to me to find my authenticity. And so that road has continued that I've had opportunities with other um, individuals or groups to just start breaking out of that shell that I put around myself that limited me. And so my vision is to share my story. I did speak at a conference a couple years ago, and on one hand, everybody was crying in the audience, and I felt bad about that. But on the good hand side of that, people followed me into the bathroom because they wanted to say, I have a story too. And they felt like I don't know, a connection and affirmation. They felt affirmation. And so I've begun to kind of contemplate the idea of getting out a little bit more and sharing and speaking about some of those things. But more than that, helping them to see the tools to start finding their authenticity and loving who they are, loving who they are.
Love that. So important because so you took a rather difficult, challenging childhood, and
Mm.
rather than dwelling on that, you
Right.
allowed that to lead you to finding solutions, not just for yourself, but for other women.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What was it? Because we're talking about making a decision, and these are big decisions. One is you decided to actually join a women's group when you actually didn't feel comfortable with women. That's like
Yes,
going out on a cliff when you're afraid of heights.
that is absolutely true. And to be
What
quite
made you
honest,
make that
I'm
decision?
sorry. Um, so I have six kids that I homeschooled. And so my life, and the oldest is 20 years older than the youngest. So I spent a lot of my life at home homeschooling my kids. And so as I was getting ready to move out of that arena, um, I was afraid that my life was over. You
Ah,
know, this big transition, you know, the kids leaving. What was I going to do? I'd been a software analyst in the military
mhm.
before I started homeschooling. And I certainly couldn't go out and expect to find computers looking the way they did 20 years ago. So one of the things that I did was I became a network marketer with an organization. It was doTERRA Essential Oils.
Okay.
And I love doTERRA Essential Oils. And suddenly I had to do really hard things. I had to give like an elevator pitch in a networking group. And oh my gosh, I remember the first time I did that. I wanted to get out of my seat and run out the door. I was so scared, so nervous.
So get the
Um, yeah, it was awful. And then one decision that I made really opened a door for me. And I love to travel, but with six kids and only one person working in the family, we didn't do any travel unless we could drive there.
Mhm.
doTERRA has their conference in Salt Lake City once a year. And I decided I'm going to that. I'm going to buy the tickets and then I'll figure it out from there. So I bought the tickets, and then later all the other pieces fell into place. And I went with a group of women and we stayed together. And when I got on that airplane, it was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. I can travel. I can do the things that my heart has desired
Mhm.
for so long. So I did that. And then the first piece of it is that you just have to step out. You got to step out, even if you don't know all the pieces to it.
I
Um,
love that. That is great advice for women
yeah,
in itself as far as making a decision, because so many times we'll sit there and obsess about, well, how are we going to make this
absolutely.
work? And how will we ever find the money? And how will we ever explain it to, our spouse if we want to, whatever it is. And you
Absolutely.
just said, I'll make the decision and I'll figure it out. And
Yes,
that is vital to being a successful person.
absolutely.
Oh my goodness. So here's another lead into that, because it's okay, you made that big decision, surrounded yourself with women, became
Right,
comfortable with women, and actually enjoy being with women at
right,
this point. And then you decided to join Thrivent. What was the impetus
right.
And how did that work? That decision to join Thrivent, and then tell us a little bit about what Thrivent is.
Okay, sure. So my decision, there were a series of little decisions, but my youngest was graduating. And so I had an opportunity to go out and work full time instead of the network marketing, which was always part time. And I started looking around. This is a mom who's homeschooled, who's been home for 25 years. Um, and even though I was the chairman of everything volunteer, because that's just who I am, I made, what do we call it? I forget the word, but so anyway, I was trying to figure out what am I going to do? And I felt like I didn't have a resume that was going to produce anything very lucrative for me. And I was contemplating Walmart and Target and all of these places, but I was dead inside when I thought about doing those jobs because I always want to be creating and strategizing, and being a clerk in a store would just kill me. And so a friend came to me who worked for an investment company, and she said, they have an opening for a branch office administrator. I think you'd be perfect.
Mhm.
And so I interviewed, I got the job, and it was so exciting because instead of being at Walmart, I actually got to I like to dress up professionally. I
Mhm.
enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I got to do that in this job. Well, it only took me about 6 weeks to discover that I really didn't want to be shuffling paperwork. I wanted to be working with people. I wanted to be helping people instead of helping processes. And so I learned that there was the initial exam that you have to take to become licensed.
Yep.
Anybody can take it. And so I took it and I did great.
You
And
just
then
did the
I
same
just
thing.
took it.
I'll
I
take it,
just,
figure it out.
I bought the materials and nobody was helping me. I just decided I want to see if I can do this. I think I can. And looking back on it, it's shocking that someone my age was able to study and pass those exams. It was crazy. So I spent about a year, not quite a year, going through studying, and the company that I had been at, they did offer me a job, but there was nothing close. I'd have to drive an hour to an office. And after being home for so many years with my husband and my kids, I just couldn't do that. So I did, and now I'm going to lead into Thrivent
Okay.
because the first company, they didn't want to talk to a client unless you had like $500,000.
Mhm.
Well, I knew that would eliminate most of the people I knew.
Mm.
So then I went to a second company, and I'm not mentioning names, but the second company didn't resonate with my values.
Okay.
And I started with them, but it's really important that if my name is going to be attached to something, it has to reflect my values. And that was a little painful to walk away from that.
Mm.
But then I found Thrivent, and it has been the perfect fit for me. So I had to try 3 times
Yeah.
to find the perfect fit. So it's okay to change your mind.
You know, Vanessa, here you are. You're speaking principle after principle after principle that I
Right,
think is so important for women. And you've got this joint vision of everybody should have access to a financial advisor, and
right.
that women, um, you know, need each other to
Yes,
thrive. And you're combining those together, and in doing so you have said a couple of times that, well, in one time making a decision was you didn't feel expansive when you were talking to Walmart or Target or being a cashier.
yes,
That was that just was, I think you said you felt made you feel dead inside.
absolutely.
But when you started realizing you could help people and be involved in that way, you started feeling
Exactly.
expansive, which is a huge. tap on the shoulder from the the spirit inside of us that kind of leads us around, and it's going kind of like tap tap. Hey, Vanessa, you notice how this
Yeah,
makes you feel really good, and this makes you feel really
absolutely.
good.
Absolutely.
And you've been
I
doing that.
yes, and I have to give kudos to you, honestly, because we had lunch a month or so ago, and this idea of serving women, uplifting and encouraging women, that's been on my heart for about 5 or 6 years. But I
Mhm.
had no idea what to do with it, and I didn't feel confident that I had something to offer. And then when we had coffee that day, through our conversation, you might remember I said I had goosebumps in part of our conversation because it suddenly felt like things were opening up. And I wasn't chasing and grabbing it.
Mhm.
It was just kind of coming in focus. And I had to rewrite my vision statement, my dreams. I had to rewrite them over the last few weeks because I realized that working with women is an important, it's more a mission.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah,
your comment that, your youngest was going off, just graduating from high school, I think at that time. And it was
right.
like the audience that we have is generally women over 50 who are
Mm,
just going through those kinds of
right.
transitions. What do I do with my life now? It's like, what's my identity now that my kids are gone?
Absolutely.
And how do I want to make an impact? It's my turn to make an impact on the world. And you're going all
Yes.
these stages very thoughtfully, very kinesthetically, even because you're noticing what you're noticing. You're noticing
Right.
how you're feeling, what you're thinking, where you want to go.
Right.
And you put so much thought into that. And so that in itself is an inspiration to women. And
Yeah.
that's what Isn't She Amazing is all about. And that's why we build supernova women, because we want women to feel
Hmm.
expansive, because women are
Absolutely.
pretty multi-talented, and
Right.
we have a lot of gifts inside of us. So I love the inspiration you're
Right.
providing for the audience. And so tell me then how your decision you've made one decision after the other in a way that says, I'll figure it out. So how has Thrivent helped you direct your life? How has that decision
Hmm.
kind of changed the trajectory of your life?
I think part of it is that I chose to do something hard
Hmm.
and I succeeded, and that increased my confidence to step out and do things. When I was 27 years old, I joined the Army, went through basic training.
Just
As
because,
I just decided to do it. Um, and going, that was the hardest thing I've ever done.
oh my gosh, yeah,
And because I was not a jock, I was not athletic, and the Army is very active and physical.
yeah.
But by the time I got through, my confidence had lifted so much, and I felt, again, I'll use that word authentic because it's so important to me. And so it was choosing to do something hard because if you stay inside of everything that's easy, you don't experience that confidence, that you know, I can't even think of another way to say it, but it's when you accomplish something that was hard for you, you're telling yourself, I'm worth it. You're telling yourself, I'm great. And
Uh-huh.
you're not having to wait for someone else to tell you.
That's right. And you just know it because one more time, you make a decision, you let it play out as it'll play.
Right.
And when you do the hard thing, you build confidence. And so you've built confidence
Yes.
with women, you've built confidence by taking the exam when you were really
Yeah.
hired to do the office work. And it was like, no, no, I'm going to try this.
Right,
And
right.
it's just one thing after the other, and you are making an impact in the world. I don't think
Yes.
I remembered you being in the army when we
I
chatted.
might not have mentioned it. It's crazy.
But
Um,
what was it that you were most proud of, um, having been in the army? Because as we're recording this, yesterday was Memorial Day, and there's many
yes, it was.
events throughout our year that celebrate veterans and
Yes,
really serve our country and really do the hard thing. What is it that
right.
makes you proudest of that?
And my husband and I are both veterans.
Oh,
And so we are very connected. In fact, my husband helped organize a bonfire for veterans at a local brewery on Sunday. So we were there. And I've actually met someone who is looking for someone to help support veterans. So sometimes I'm not sure what God wants me to be doing because these other opportunities come up. But I think the thing that I'm proudest of is being part of an organization that was willing to sacrifice themselves. Yes, I'm proud that I did all these things. You know, I was very successful through all the schooling that I went through. Went to Korea for a tour, but it was the community of other military individuals, and we were all willing to leave our families. I spent a year in Korea and I had to leave my 2-year-old son behind. And
wow.
I had no choice, and that was the hardest thing I've ever done.
I bet.
I cried a million tears,
I
on that. But it was all part of the plan. It was all part of the plan. So I'm really proud of the sacrifice that people make to protect our country. And you know, and I grew so much
That's huge. And it sounds like you grew from every decision you've made.
every decision.
So let me ask you, what's in the future for you? What are you excited about? What's coming up in your life that you are looking forward to, excited about, that you
Right.
share with us?
Well, first, I do want to point out that not all of my decisions have been success stories.
Mm,
I have a lot of stories that did not turn out the way I wanted them to do.
mm.
But it's kind of like, okay, I opened door number one. That was not right. Let's try door number two, you
Right.
know. But they're all well thought out. I don't mean to be reckless with that kind of a decision. There are certainly, it's certainly, you kind of know when this is what I really want. So what's next for me? Um, I love my role in Thrivent, but I think I love more my role encouraging and supporting women.
Hmm.
And so I'm looking for the doors that will open. I love to speak.
Hmm.
Um, and so for me, I did give a message to a women's summit once, and in it, there were three things that I thought were important for me.
Hmm.
One was surrounding myself with women who were authentic, who cared and encouraged each other.
Hmm.
That's huge. I think that you could avoid a whole bunch of therapy that you might have had in your past if you just have that group of women that's authentic and encourages you. The second was that I have a wonderful relationship with someone, at least one person who loves you unconditionally. And for me, that's my husband. But I think you need someone in your life who loves you unconditionally. And that's where it's important who you're surrounding yourself with.
Right.
You want to surround yourself with the people that are going to uplift you. And oh, and then the third thing was just my faith. Um, and so I want to help women to focus on those things. And I didn't mention that I'm a Clifton Strengths coach, which I absolutely love. That was one of the most significant things in my life was going through the process and it was like peeling the layers of an onion to
right?
really find my authenticity. And then I began coaching women, and I got a great response from that. It was very impactful for women to discover that. So um, I'm looking forward to what my next steps will be. And
Wow.
I'm trying to be completely open, just my hands open to what is going to come my way.
Well, and absolutely, it seems like life um, works out for you because even when your decisions don't turn out like you were hoping, you've learned something, and you like, oh, I don't like what's behind door number one. Let's do
Yes,
plan B, and so
right,
it just helps you clarify your vision, your purpose, your sense of self,
right.
and I love that. So
Yeah.
so here, let me just ask you then, as we're closing, is what any woman who's watching or anyone who's watching and has a decision before them, what
Mhm.
advice do you have for
Mm.
someone who's needing to make a decision?
Hmm. I would say it is important to count the cost, count the cost of what it's going to emotionally, physically, whatever cost you. I
Mhm.
think you should think clearly about a decision that you want to make. Be very well informed. But then, if it's something that you're really passionate about, even if you think you're not up to it yet, I think we grow as we move forward. And so don't take forever to make that decision. Days go by, then weeks and months, and then years.
Yep.
And if there's something that you've been passionate about, there's probably a way that that can come to fruition, but you got to take the first step.
And that's hugely wise advice. So I
Thank
love
you.
all the examples you gave us about how you've
Mhm.
made decisions in the past and how, yes, they have to be thoughtful, but they have to be rather timely too, or
Yes,
it never happens.
yes.
So Vanessa,
And
oh yes,
surround yourself with people that believe in your vision.
oh,
I
that
mean, it kind of sounds bad, like you're filling the room with people that think like you, but it's the encouragement and the affirmation that you need, and the people that will say, "Hey, it's okay, you suffered a little bit of setback. It's not over. Keep going. Knock on another door." I think that's really important.
so important because I think if we have a desire in our heart and that's burning there, it's burning there for a reason. And we need
Yes,
to let it burn,
absolutely.
bring it to fruition.
Absolutely. It's what brings us alive, isn't it?
It really,
Isn't it what makes life thrilling and exciting and satisfying?
absolutely. And Vanessa Short from Thrivent, we thank you so much for sharing your
Absolutely.
wisdom with us today. See you
My
later.
privilege.
Thanks.
Thank you.